We're here today for the 2025 annual NMYAFL Coaches Clinic Showcase here at Sandia Casino. We want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Ascent Southwest Windows and Doors, Delta Dental, Davis & Miles Attorney at Law, and Diggs Sporting Goods. 25, I'm here with head coach, UNM Lobos coach, Jason Eck. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Great to be here with all these great coaches out here.
Coach, can you tell me why the reason you're here? Why were you the guest speaker?
Well, I think these coaches here are doing such a great job of making an impact on young men, helping develop them, help teach them a lot of lessons that are going to help them, not just be good football players, but be better people, be better future husbands and fathers. So I really respect the impact they're making. They're probably coaching some guys who will be future guys I get to coach down the road. So I thought it was important when I had the opportunity to come and visit with these guys a little bit.
Yes, sir. Now to come in, you're coming from Idaho, right? How has the transition been for you and your family moving to this state?
It's been great. We are loving New Mexico. Love the weather here. Love the people, the food, the culture. So it's been a very good transition for us. I got 5 kids. I'll have 2 at the University of New Mexico. One of them, my second son, will be playing for us there. I'll have my third son. He'll be a freshman at Cueva High School. And then my fourth son, Maverick, he'll be a 4th grader. He'll be playing in the AFL League this year. So very excited about that.
Awesome. Coach, can you tell me a little bit about your experience, the years you've been coaching, what other universities you might have coached at?
Yeah, I had a long path to get here to Albuquerque. I played at the University of Wisconsin and then started as a graduate assistant there for 3 years. And then went to the University of Colorado in Boulder for a couple years as a graduate assistant. University of Idaho was my first kind of full-time position coach job, coaching the offensive line. Spent 2 years at Winona State University, Division II, coaching the O-line. Spent 2 years at Ball State in the MAC, coaching the offensive line. From there, spent a year at Hampton University in Virginia, a year at Western Illinois. Then I went to Minnesota State Mankato, and that was a great place for my career. It was the first time I became an offensive coordinator. We played in the Division II National Championship game then. Then went out and spent 1 year at Montana State University, and then 6 years at South Dakota State University, which was really another good place. Again, got to become an offensive coordinator there, call plays in the national championship game. And then from there, I got my first opportunity to be a head coach at the University of Idaho. Spent 3 years here, and that went pretty well, which got me this opportunity to move up along with FBS and coach here in New Mexico.
Awesome, Coach. Now let's go to New Mexico now, the Lobos. What can we expect from our football team this year?
Well, I think you're going to expect a team that's really going to play their tails off, really focus on playing really, really hard, and then playing, good, smart football. We don't want the Lobos to beat the Lobos. We want to play clean football, make sure we're executing, cleaning up some foolish penalties. The last couple of years, New Mexico has been one of the highest penalized teams in college football. We've lost the turnover margin the last couple of years, so I think those are some simple things we can do to clean up and make other teams have to beat us and not beat ourselves. But a team that's really going to compete and play with a lot of toughness and respond when bad things happen and be able to battle in the face of adversity.
Coach, and lastly, before we end this, can you tell me some key players that the fans can look for maybe this season? Maybe on offense, defense, special teams?
On offense, I think it's going to start with the O-line like it usually does in all levels of football. Richard Pierce is a returning team captain who's really done a good job and is one of our best leaders in the team. I'd look at him leading things up front. I think our backfield is really talented. Scott Ray Humphrey, Damon Bankston are probably the 2 headliners there, but it's a deep group. I think we have 4 backs who are really good. Keegan Johnson kind of heads up receivers core there. And then on defense, I think we're going to be pretty good in the D-line. Gabe Lopez is a returner who started last year. We have Keyshawn James Newby transferred down from Idaho with us. Who's a good edge rusher. And then I think our linebacker core is very experienced. So we have 3 guys who played a lot of college football. With Dimitri Johnson, Randolph Kapai, who were both starters here last year, and then Jackson Eck, who came down from Idaho. My son, he was a good player for us up there last year, so I think that's going to be a really experienced position. And then our secondary, Tavian Combs, is a guy who's been a Lobo for a long time, has battled some injuries, but I think he can be a great leader on the back end. And then, with our specialist game, Luke Drzicki really had a good spring as our place kicker. And then Charles Steinkamp, who's from Los Alamos up north, he is probably one of the chief contenders for our punting job. So
Wow.
some of our key guys for this year.
Coach, one more thing. Sorry, I want to go back to recruiting, and this has to do with the coaching staffs. Okay, high school coaches. What do you think, in your best opinion, is the best coaching priorities they can do to get their players exposed?
I think encouraging the guys to make good highlight films. Huddle is such a good resource to make highlight films and keep those things updated. I think for our level, getting those out right at the latest, probably right after their junior year in high school, so we can evaluate them, and then get them out to visit colleges, and especially our camp. I think our camp is a very valuable thing. We have 2 guys in this year's class specifically who we offered a scholarship to in camp and then committed to us, one of them being an in-state guy. So I think that's the best thing they can do is get those guys out in front of us where we can see them. Obviously the film's very important, but there's some things we can see in the camp setting that you can't always see on tape.
Yeah.
You see their coachability, you see, are they hustling between drills, are they first in line, how's their body language. So those are things that are very valuable for us in our evaluation process.
And Coach, what's the percentage you'd say your team is New Mexico?
We need to grow that. Last year, since we got here, we signed 3 New Mexico players, in our first year here, and I think that's a number that can keep growing with time. We got to do a great job identifying it. We have 2 New Mexicans committed for the class of 26 right now, a number we're hoping to grow as we continue to evaluate guys that way. So I don't have the exact numbers off my head, but it's not enough right now. We got to keep growing it and getting more New Mexicans on the team.
Awesome. You heard it. Like I said, I'm here with head coach Jason Weck from the New Mexico Lobos. Stay tuned for their season, Coach Eck. Good luck to you. Good luck against Michigan, sir.
Thanks so much. Lobo up.
New head football coach for the New Mexico Lobos, Coach Jason Eck.
Hey, I'll tell you a little story. My wife, when I told her, I had a speaking engagement this morning, I had something to come to. She was like, "You work so many Sundays throughout the year. All of my season we're working Sundays, lots of recruiting." I said, why are you taking on something like this during time when it's
Intake the camera too?
These guys who are involved,
I don't have an SD card
they're
to
making a
record.
difference. They're really making a difference in kids' lives. And I'm a firm believer. I believe football is the greatest game in the world. Okay? And I know some countries have really been exposed to it yet. Soccer might be the biggest thing. But I think that's just continuing to come now. The Olympics are going to have flag football, and I think this game is going to continue to grow. And I really believe the things that you can learn from playing football, the mental toughness, the discipline, the teamwork, so many things that are really unmatched in what it prepares you to do. And so I think so highly of this group of men that have given up their time to impact youth and make a difference in young kids' lives. There's so many of our players that come here who maybe didn't have a great situation with their father at home. The father wasn't involved with their life, and their coaches really fulfilled that. They were the male role models in their life. So I told my wife, I said, hey, I think this is really important. This is an important group, and I know some of you guys are coaching some kids this fall who are going to be playing for us someday. You're building the future Lobos. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing and are making a huge, huge impact. And again, I'm honored to be here in your guys' presence. I've been involved with football for a long time. My father was a college basketball coach, and I always just enjoyed going to the gym with him. I think that was I had friends who in college are big into hunting and fishing or things like that, and I said, my dad never took me to that stuff. He took me to the gym. He took me around, and the one thing that I grew out of that is I thought my dad always was fired up to go to work. Again, I'm very blessed to do what I do for a living, because I really don't feel like I am working. I feel like every day I'm excited to go there. I'm never looking at the clock when I get to go home and do that. But my experiences with football go back a long way. I still have very vivid memories of my first year playing youth football. I played a little flag before that, but I think 5th grade was my first year I played tackle football. And I remember it was hard. It was a hard experience. And again, there was times, and I think that's why football is so powerful, is you have some tough things that you have to experience and you have to push through. whether it's the heat of practice. Back when there was 2-a-days, we don't even have 2-a-days anymore in college football. They've kind of been outlawed in the NFL and college football now. But the feeling of getting your butt kicked and then having to get up off the mat and come back. And again, I think those are such valuable lessons. I have vivid memories. My 6th grade year, I like playing both ways. I like playing defense, even though I ended up becoming an offensive lineman. I did not hit like the weight I needed to do play defense, so I had to play up. I played in 6th grade, I played in the 7th and 8th grade team. And that was an experience too, because now you're going against older players. There's more days where you're getting your butt kicked, but you learn and grow from that. I also think, when you think about the lessons that football teaches you, probably one of my first lessons on discipline was then, as I got older, my 7th and 8th grade year, I had to stay under a certain weight to play defense. In the 8th grade, you had to be under like 145 or something to play on the defensive side of the ball. Now you got like a certain color tape on your helmet. You had like red tape, you could only play O-line. But that was really good for me because I think the discipline of keeping my weight, so like my 8th grade year, I could catch that and I could play defense. So those are just vivid things that stand out for me with my youth football experience. Now I've gone through with my sons. I'm blessed. I have 5 children, my wife and I. The oldest 4 are boys. We finally got a girl. My wife's sales pitch on why we should keep going for 5 was that we either have a whole line of boys or I finally get a girl. She finally got the girl she wanted. So, but I think back, my first year, my sons played tackle football. My 2 oldest, they played the first year. My oldest was in 3rd grade, and my second oldest was in 1st grade. We were living in Virginia. And I think there were some lessons that I'll share with you today later from that. But that was their first experience. And I remember my wife coming back as we were in practice at fall camp. I think she was almost crying the first day of seeing them play tackle football and take some hits, but I think it was good for them. And then my 3rd son now is just, he started playing football throughout and is very passionate about it. He's going to be a freshman at McQuaid High School this fall. My second son who plays for us is a linebacker, my 3rd son's a quarterback, and then my 4th son, Maverick, will be playing in your guys' league this year, so he's very excited about it. Last year was his last year. But, it's fun seeing my own children go through that and the lessons they're learning from football. And it's good to have your kids go through hard things. It's good to have your kids fail and then learn how to respond from it. So the thing I wanted to share, just a few things that I think I've learned that I would really encourage you guys to make a difference on your teams as you coach your teams. And a lot of it goes back to when we were living in Virginia. I was coaching at Hampton University, which is a HBCU, historically black college university there in the Hampton Roads area, the 757 of Virginia. And this was a very, they had a lot of pride in this league. Allen Iverson had played in this youth football league. Michael Vick had played in this youth football league growing up. And I think they coached the guys probably a little bit too hard. They should for 1st and 3rd graders. Now, I think it had a polarizing effect. My 1st grade son loved it. I think he embraced the doing up downs and things, and he's playing for us now. My 3rd grade son, that was the only year he ever played tackle football. Didn't like it, and it ended his career. Ended up being, I was the only old line coach at the time in the country whose son became a cross country runner in college. But and in high school, not in college. But my first lesson is make sure you're making it fun for the kids, because I think back and I've seen that in that league, and I've seen it throughout. Football. It needs to be fun. You got to make it fun. And again, I think one of the things I think that as you're looking at, was my coaching a success. I track how many of the kids you have. If you have 4th graders, how many of those kids play as 5th graders? Are you getting those guys that have fun and enjoy this experience? And football is such a developed game. Again, I look at a lot of I think the best players that sometimes you recruit at our level or at last school, which is at the FCS level, are not guys who are stars as sophomores in high school. They're late bloomers, late developers. And I talk to high school pro coaches all the time. especially schools that have big programs. Maybe they have 2 freshman teams, an A and a B. And most of those guys will say, I mean, there's a high school, like one of their starting alignment every year was a guy who was on the B team as a freshman. This kids develop later. So again, we really encourage you to make sure you're making it fun. Okay, you're moving guys along. Because football, football's a hard game. Okay, and again, it can be, you don't want guys that are dreading to come to practice, dreading to, be around their coaches. Find a way to make it fun and encourage. I think it's one of the biggest things you can do so that we're keeping those guys within the game. They're continuing to play. They're continuing to develop over time. Because football is a true developmental game, especially when it comes to line play. So many offensive linemen, can grow so much from, where they were younger. And a lot of times, maybe a kid who is, a little bit behind, when he's 12 years old, and then being a varsity starter in high school, and he keeps developing. Okay, the second thing, and this is something I talk to my coaches about all the time, and this is something I really believe. I think the number one thing that I encourage you to coach is effort. Okay? I tell my own coaches, the number one way that they can improve the production of their group is getting their players to consistently play harder. And again, really, we have to do a lot of training even when guys get to our level. A lot of guys think they're playing really hard or playing their hardest, but they're not. They can play a lot harder. So it's teaching guys to finish everything they're doing, whether it's a drill and they're finishing through the cone hard. They're not slowing down as they're going to the cone. Whether you're an old lineman finishing blocks, or if the ball breaks, hustling to try to get down by the ball carrier to pick them up after a play. Whether it's any player on defense running to the ball, taking good pursuit at angles, okay, not laying on the ground. That's one of my big stickler points with our coaches. Making sure if you do get knocked out, guys are popping off the ground and running to the ball. Okay, my 9th grade son, when he was watching they're in camp right now, they're doing practices in the morning. I was watching a few clips on his huddle from his practice. He's playing quarterback, and my only corrections to him through watching a few days of practice was, you got to carry out your fake step. Don't hand off the ball on this run play when you're the quarterback and watch. Okay, you need to make sure you're taking a hard fake, running for 5 yards, holding the backside defenders by doing that. And again, I think doing little things like that when you're a quarterback and you're not, getting your nose dirty every play, but you're respecting the teammates. So, really encourage you to find a way to get your group to play harder and really coach that. It's hard to come up with a play that is 10% better than other plays, okay? Especially at our level where everyone we go against has good coaches on their staff. But I think the best way you can make an impact is getting your team to play 10% harder. And then the last thing I kind of shared, and this is something that I think I've really grown with in my journey in coaching. I found that about this will be my 27th year coaching. And again, I played 4 years of college football before that, so over 30 years I've been involved with college football. I'd say 90% of people respond better to positivity than negative. 90%. Yeah, again, I have no stats, that's my observation. Yeah, and trust me, sometimes that 10% is really fun to coach because you can shoot their ass, and they come right back and grit their teeth and want to prove you wrong. And again, those are, I think of some of those guys, sometimes those are my favorites, but as I think about those guys more over time, I don't think those are the guys that really need it. Again, I think those are the kind of guys who would have responded well to any coach, okay, because they can take that hard criticism. So many more guys, when you're negative with them, go in the tank. Okay, they get down on themselves. Their body language gets bad. So I would challenge you to really make sure that you have a ratio of at least about 3 to 1 on positives and negatives you're talking with you guys. Okay? I've also found it's a little bit more effective to shout your praise and whisper your criticism. Okay? Kids respond better to that because so many guys will get embarrassed in front of their teammates or they start thinking it's cool to be uncoachable or have attitude. But a lot of times you put your arm around the guy and tell him that. Tell him his correction, they respond a little better. Another great technique that I've learned from the coach, and again, this is Coach Stiglmeyer, was the head coach I worked for at South Dakota State before I had a chance to become a head coach. And He was there 26 years, built different when they were kind of a lousy Division II program. To the last year he coached, they won the national title in FCS. He's probably one of the most influential coaches in my background. Probably him and Coach Alvarez, Barry Alvarez, who I played for, was a graduate assistant at Wisconsin. I think those guys really were probably the foundation of who was a coach. And he used to always say this, sandwich your criticisms. Okay, tell the kid, hey, great effort on that play. Really like the way you're hustling, but your first step is underneath you. You have to make sure you're pressing off your foot and really gaining ground with it. Okay, I believe you go get after it. So kind of a positive, a negative, and then the positive again. He really believed in that, and I did feel like that with him. So we're really challenged with that. That does not mean that you cannot correct guys, but I think sometimes the old school coaching that I grew up with was when you do it right, that's what's expected. And if you do it wrong, you get corrected. And I look back at my career, there's probably a lot of times where I was chewing guys' ass and not helping the situation at all. A lot of times maybe he was having a bad day. And again, there's probably different problems when you're coaching a 10-year-old versus a 20-year-old. For me, it's probably guys maybe stressed out about a class or has girl problems, or problems at home, which I'm sure is probably the same where one of your players may have a bad day. But me yelling at a guy who was making some uncharacteristic mistakes really didn't make it better. Me was more getting to the root of that problem, which really was about building relationships with players. Loving your players and having an impact with them where they know that you care about them, I think really makes a difference in their performance. You're able to reach and get their buy-in from the guys when they know that they care about you. You care about them and you develop that good relationship. So those are just kind of a few tidbits I'd like to throw out that I think that I've learned over all these years that I think would help. Okay. I want to talk a little bit just why I came here to the University of New Mexico. Coaching is kind of crazy. It was about an 8-day process from when I first talked to the athletic director here, Fernando Lobo, and then when I signed my contract. So I tell this to recruits all the time when they're feeling pressure about making a decision. I kind of tell them, hey, that's life, man. You got to make quick decisions. In football, you got to make. I got make a lot of my most important decisions in 40 seconds. 40-second play clock, whether we're going for it on fourth down or whether we're punting or kicking a field goal. But I never stepped foot in the city of Albuquerque. I did not. They interviewed me up in Idaho where I was coaching last year. So the first time I set foot in Albuquerque was when I landed on the plane. I had already signed my contract and accepted this job. But what really drew me in here is I thought there was a great opportunity here. And part of that was we have some new leadership. I think our new athletic director is tremendous. We're going to have a little change in conferences, which with some teams leaving this conference. I think Fernando did a good job of promoting. We ended up having the best all-around athletic department season of any team would hold. Group of 5, maybe back to group of 6 now. By far the best of any team in the Mountain West Conference. I believe we finished 49th in the Learfield Cup, which is all sports overall. And now we have some teams who are leaving because they think they're better than us going to this Pac-12 conference. But the thing I noticed is they accomplished that with football having a losing record. Okay? And football has not had a winning record since 2016. So I saw a lot of opportunity here of how we can make this place better. And then as I studied it, I really saw that, it's not that, I know attendance has not been good for football. Okay? People have not been turning out for football games. But as I studied it, and I saw the basketball team draws well, and some people will tell me, well, it's a basketball town, but again, America's a football country. Okay? This is not a, basketball town. The number 1 watch sport in America, NFL football. Number 2 watch sport in America, college football. Okay, I like watching the NBA playoffs and things. My sons and I are watching that. But college football does double the rate of NBA basketball. Twice as many people watch college football as NBA basketball. So what I just saw is this is not an apathetic fan base. Some teams don't draw because the fans don't care. And I think we have a passionate fan base. I sense a lot of pride really in the state. I think New Mexicans have a lot of pride in being from New Mexico. But they want something they can be proud of. They want something they can support and get behind and be excited about and be proud of as people. And so I saw an opportunity here. I saw an opportunity that as we improve things, as we turn things around, as we're winning games, as we're going to bowl games, that we can fill that stadium. Okay? We can fill that stadium and we can really get the people of this community of Albuquerque. And again, when I say that, even out to Rio Rancho, down to Los Lunas, really the whole state, something that they can be proud and support. And I really think that's a great advantage of being at a place like New Mexico compared to some of the teams we recruit against, whether it's the Group of 5 schools in Texas, Texas State or North Texas or San Jose State out in the Bay Area that's in our conference. I think it's unique that we're in a state where there is no NFL team, there is no NBA team, there are no Power 4 colleges. The biggest university in this whole state in New Mexico is the Lobos. I think that gives us a great opportunity to grow this thing. Our athletic directors all already done a great job with some of the state legislatures. The state's done pretty well. Oil and gas has a little bit of a surplus, getting some of that invested in athletics. Done a great job of raising money on the outside. Just to fund this program, if you had a better level in a way, it's probably befitting of the company we've kept over the years. And again, we think of all the teams that were once in the same conferences in Mexico who are now in power conferences. Whether it's Arizona State, TCU, Utah, BYU, a lot of those teams have been able to move to a higher level per se. New Mexico was once considered a peer of theirs. We have some catching up to do. And I see great opportunity, and again, I know if we do a great job here, this community is going to embrace this. We're going to get this thing turned around, and again, that's what I saw here. Is I saw not what's the past, but what we can do here in the future. Know this, we're really going to work hard, and again, I have 5 kids. We have kind of young kids on the staff. It's something that the athletic director and I have talked a lot about, because he knows that again, we have a great athletic department overall, but football drives the bus. Again, it's I think there was that one book I read in college. I think it was, I don't remember what it was, but it was the one about animals who live in the farm. And it said like all animals are equal, but some are a little bit more equal. All sports are important, but college football is a little bit more important than everything else. And our athletic director gets that. He's going to support us and knows that to really take the next step, we got to get football going. And part of that is attendance. So be on the lookout. We are going to have some initiatives that are more family friendly. And again, we want to try to get kids in there. We're working through. They're yet to announce the details, so don't put this out in court. But I think they're trying to get something where kids who are 12 and under come free to the games, make it more affordable for young families to come to the games. Again, we'd love to have some of you bring your teams to games. That's something that we can work out for the time being until we start selling this place out that way. And I think you try to do some things with concession stand prices to make those more affordable, so that again, we're trying to bring in young people to it, having a lot of fun coming to our games. Hopefully, we're building Lobos for life with that. As I look at our season this year, again, I see a lot of great opportunities. People will, a lot of people talk about, you guys got such a tough schedule. But that's kind of all I've known as a head coach. In the 3 years I was at an FCS school, and I know every year we played 2 FCS schools. Last year we opened on the road to Oregon, played them tough, lost by 10 points, 24-14. It was a 3-point game in the 4th quarter. So again, that's no different than playing Michigan in the first game. Then we come down and play Idaho State, our second game here at home. Then we go up to UCLA to play in the Rose Bowl at the historic stadium. Then we have a bye week, get a little extra time, and then we have New Mexico State comes up. And again, I realize what an important game that is to the state. The rivalry game with the team down south, so we're very excited to have that game at home this year, and I know that's always a great crowd for us. Then we get into our conference season. We open up with 2 games on the road in conference. I asked the commissioner of our league, I said, is that usual? Why are we have 2 games on the road to start the year? I think that's a little unusual. And they said, well, all the teams were complaining because those were the 2 weeks of the Moon Fiesta. The opposing teams all complained about how expensive the hotels are. So, so we got to build a little, goodwill there. So someone's gonna have to fight the bullet. You can't start the year every year. Give us a bye week or something next time we have that. But we opened up with 2 road games: San Jose State and Boise State. But then the positives, then our last 6 games, we have 4 home games. So we have a great opportunity to finish strong. Hope we get to that New Mexico bowl on December 27th. So keep that day open. Bring your kids that way. But, again, I'm very blessed to be here. I'm so excited to be a part of this community, excited to be part of this youth football community as well. Excited to get to hope to speak to some games this year around our schedule. We have either night games or bye weeks and things like that. But I really appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are making a difference in the community. And again, it's not just the young men who are going to go on to be really good high school players or maybe want to be a college player, but some of the kids you coach are going to end up being just better citizens, better fathers, better husbands, better young men one day from the impact you're having. And Coach Stiglmeyer used to say this quote. I think the guy's name was, he was old like a minister. I think it was Jimmy Stewart, minister? But he used to have a quote that said, the average coach, football coach influences more people in 1 year than most people influence in their whole life. And that was a powerful quote about the impact the coach can have as a mentor, as a father figure, as someone the kids can look up to. So get those guys playing hard, be positive with them, make sure they're having a lot of fun, and let's have a great season this fall. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, let's get out there and support Coach and the Lobos this year. We're going to try to integrate with the Lobos like we've done in the past, or maybe we have some Lobo YAFL nights or something. But we're talking with Coach. Maybe we can get some of our teams to go attend some of his practices. Just to see them get after it a little bit. But make sure you encourage your families, encourage your players, and take your team, go support the Lobos. I think the more we gather around football, the better we'll be. So again, one more round of applause for Coach Eck.